Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Mile High Game Guys board gaming podcast. I'm your host, Adrian.
I'm Zach.
And I'm still not Jeff. I'm Andrew.
Yeah, joining us again this week, a.k.a. still tonight. So this is a review/discussion episode. So Jeff, dying again this weekend, threw things into
Disarray.
Disarray.
Because we were planning on doing a Time Stories, a ruins of that.
Yeah, so we had plans Friday. Megan had the night off. We were all four going to play. We were going to record. It was going to be great. It was going to be set. We're good.
Wait, you were going to review Set?
Yep.
I like Set.
Yeah.
God damn you guys.
I mean, we're talking about a matching game later.
Yeah.
So and then on the way up here, Jeff was like, "Oh, I've got Blood Bowl. That should be done about 6." He's like, "Because I've never had a Blood Bowl game go like more than 3 hours,
More than 2 hours, more than 2.5." Because I said
a long time. Because you said like 2 to 3 hours or something,
Yeah.
and he was like, "Oh, I haven't had one go over 2.5 hours in years or something like that." I was like, "All right, so 6:30 then. Like you get done at 6.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be about 30 minutes to get up to my house. So 6:30." He's like, "Oh, by the time I get done and drive up there, like we'll call it 7." Okay, we'll call it 7. And then so like at 6:30, he was like, "I'm still waiting on the check." I was like, "Okay, so it'll be like 7:30 now." I was like, "I got to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, so this is getting rough." And then he was like, "Well, making a detour to urgent care because I'm coughing up blood." And then immediately felt like a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jesus
for
Christ, Adrian.
being upset that he wasn't getting up here sooner. And then was immediately concerned about his well-being because he is a friend of mine. But then Megan worked the next several nights and he's been sick. I don't know if that counts as sick. Injured, maybe? Better term? I don't know. He's been wounded.
Out of commission.
And so that didn't work. And so we were trying to think of what to do. And we've been playing, as you guys have heard on the Wednesday episodes, we've been playing a lot of card games lately.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? We've never actually talked about card games.
Like old-fashioned,
Yeah,
a deck of cards,
Like
card games.
playing cards,
Mhm.
Yeah.
bicycle cards. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk review, whatever, a review discussion of
Discuss view. I don't know.
discuss view of 3 of...
Recussion.
You can stop now.
Yeah.
Of the 3 that we've been playing a lot of the most, that are 3 that are all kind of close to our respective hearts. And so we're going to talk a little bit about Euchre. We're going to talk a little bit about Cribbage. And then we're going to talk a little bit about a version of Canasta, hand and foot Canasta. And yeah, we're just going to kind of talk about how you play and what we like about them, and maybe give you some ideas for games you might want to learn.
Yeah.
If you've got, a deck of cards or 4.
Yeah.
And go from there. So it's going to be kind of informal. We're not going to do it nearly as structured as we do our reviews, but we'll talk about a lot of the same things we talk about in our reviews as we talk about these games. Like what we like about them, rules, weirdnesses.
I'll go ahead and
things like
get components out of all 3 of them. It's a deck of cards, so whatever deck of cards you have, that's the components.
a varying amount of deck of
Yes.
cards.
Right. To be fair, in Cribbage, there's also the track.
You're not wrong. But then you have to have a track,
Right.
or you can just download an app of varying degrees of success with that.
Worst comes to worst, a pen and paper and just tick marks up
Exactly.
to 121.
Yeah, or you just add
just-
points. You
Yep.
keep score like a normal game on a sheet of paper.
It's super hard with 1s and 2s. Tick marks work a little bit, but adding up, okay, 1, 2, 3. We're getting into it already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll save that. So we decided it would be fun to kind of order this in the amount
Thickness of cards.
the amount of cards you need. So we're going to start with Euchre, because Euchre, you need roughly half a deck of cards. 24 of 52 cards. So less than half a deck,
Yes.
actually.
There's no way to divide 13 into 2 because you have an even number of each suit. So that's why it can't be half a deck.
That's why roughly. I was using
Yeah.
roughly.
You were very close.
And you could have half a deck. You could play
You
some with
can't.
2 suits.
Yes. You just can't
All
have
the aces,
all
all the
suits.
diamonds.
All the aces, all the diamonds? Is that what you said?
Spades and diamonds.
Spades and
That's
diamonds,
what I
okay.
meant.
Okay.
I don't know why I said. I think I did say aces.
You did.
Anyway, so Euchre. So Euchre was one I almost didn't want to include it in this one because I wanted to save it because at some point we'll maybe do another one of these, and I wanted to maybe do like a trick taking episode specifically with like Euchre and spades and hearts.
But I feel like for the most part, it's like Euchre is just a light version of spades in that regard.
I mean, there are other games that are closer to, like Pinochle is, and I've played both Pinochle and Double Euchre, which are like more deeper versions of Euchre, but very close.
Yeah. But it ultimately kind of works for this one. Like it's a simple one, and I think it fits a little bit better in some ways with the other games in this series.
Yeah. I just want to point out Jokers, the fact that Jokers are included in every deck of cards
came from Euchre.
Came from Euchre. Back at the turn of the 20th century, Euchre was the most popular game in America and used Jokers in place of the 2 jacks of whichever color is the trump suit in Euchre.
So it did use 26 cards.
It used 26 cards out of 54, so still not quite half.
Yeah.
But
I'm really harmonized.
I'm
real
glad,
well on that.
I'm glad you weren't a part of that, Adrian.
So the Joker exists in every deck of cards because it was necessary for Euchre, but now it's no longer used in a standard game.
And that's
Euchre.
why they're big and little, because
Yes.
it was left and right.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so you don't use those in Euchre now.
Yep.
Right.
You just use ace through 9 of each suit.
Yep.
And you deal out.
And that's 9 through 8 up to ace.
Yes.
Just to clarify, because depending on the game, like in Cribbage, ace is it's so
Fair enough.
So you deal out 5 cards to each of the 4 players, and you basically have to have 4 players. There are variations with different numbers of players, but it doesn't work nearly as well without that. So you deal out 5 cards to every player.
And it's a team game. I don't know if we said that, but yeah.
I don't think we did.
No.
And then you have 4 cards left over, and you flip the top one of those up, and that card, whatever suit that card is now where the bidding starts of like, do you, as we go around the table, want that suit to be the trump suit?
Yeah.
We are assuming at this point that people understand trick taking and trump.
Well, so
you would be surprised how many people don't know what trick taking is.
So maybe
So I was going to take a step back there, and this is a good time to talk about it being a trick taking game. So trick taking, we've talked about trick taking games on the show. Indulgence, one of the ones we really talked about, and then we've talked about them on Wednesday Banter when we've talked about Euchre and stuff.
Right.
In a trick taking game, you're basically playing a series of hands where the winner of each hand takes all the cards and sets them aside as like a trick that they've earned. In some games, tricks are good, in some they're bad, in some they can be good or bad.
But it usually is like you play cards, and whoever plays the highest card,
every
wins.
player plays 1 card.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in a lot of them, you bid based on tricks. Like if it's a game where tricks are bad, maybe you bid how few you think you can take. If it's one where you want a lot, you bid how many you think you can get, and you're trying to get to that number. Something along those lines. Euchre is one of the ones where you're bidding how many you think you can take. You want to take tricks.
Right.
So when you flip that first card, player to the left of the dealer gets a chance to bid for that suit being trump.
Yep.
So
trump, I would just explain that real quick.
And so trump in a trick-taking game, not the dickish president, it is the card that will beat all other cards.
The suit.
The suit. Yeah.
Because in normal trick-taking, if someone plays diamonds, you have to follow diamonds if you can, and then whoever played the highest diamond would win. Trumps basically go above that.
Right. And the lowest card of that suit would beat the highest card of any other suit.
Yeah. And typically in a trick-taking game, you can't play offsuit. Like you have to follow if possible. So you couldn't play a trump just to win. You'd have to have nothing in the suit that was being played or led, as the term often is. So you go around bidding for the top card of that deck in Euchre. If everybody passes, all 4 players pass, it gets turned face down, and then bidding starts again to the dealer's left, with everybody bidding again for any suit but the suit that was previously
any
revealed.
of the other 3.
So if it started with a diamond up, and then it went all the way around and nobody took it, diamonds gets turned down. Diamonds cannot be trump any longer. So then it would start with Andrew to my left if I was the dealer, and he could bid, say, 2 or whatever he wants to bid.
No,
you don't get it.
Because you're
in Euchre, it's one of the simplest ones. Instead of having to say exactly how many you're going to get, you're just saying, by calling this as trump, I'm saying that I can get at least the majority of the 5 tricks.
That's right. Yeah,
that there will be.
Because you just say, you name a suit and then it's boom.
Clubs.
That's right. I've played Spades too recently, and
Yes.
it threw
Yeah,
everything off.
Spades has a lot of the same features, but requires you to have a much more like specific bid. Bridge is the same way.
Yeah.
Pinochle is similar in that you have to bid a certain number of points, but you don't like tricks count as points, but also specific cards and specific combinations of cards.
Sounds like a whole thing.
Yeah,
a whole thing.
It's a great game, but
so then the second time around, by bidding, you are choosing a suit that you want it to be played in. If again no one chooses, it gets all the way around to the dealer. This is one of the main variations that you see.
right. House rule.
Yeah, if you there's it's called screw the dealer
Or fuck the dealer.
or fuck the dealer. If you want a more cutthroat game, arguably maybe a quicker game, sometimes you can play fuck the dealer. Where if it comes around that second time to the dealer, they have to name a suit no matter what. Otherwise, if you don't play with screw the dealer or fuck the dealer, then if it comes back around to the dealer again, they can just muck it if they pass. Deal passes and you start over again.
Yeah. One thing to note, when like if I were to call a specific suit, if I said that I wanted hearts to be trump, then I would be saying that between myself and my partner, the two of us are going to win 3 out of the 5 tricks.
Yep.
So
you can also there's the variation you can call a suit alone, which means that your partner sets their entire hand down and is just out, and you think that you with your hand can beat both of the other players for the opposing team.
And that's just majority. You don't have to get like all of them or anything like that. But
If you
alone,
if you go
do.
alone, you have to get them all to get the bonus points.
Right.
Otherwise, as long as you get at least 3, you still
still
get
get
the
that's
normal
right.
basic
That's
ones.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
my bad.
So a couple other very quick things, because I think we're taking too long on explaining this. is, you're going to 10 total points by declaring that you're going to win a majority of the suits and getting a majority, you get 1. By getting all 5, you get 2. If the other team gets the majority instead of you, they get 2 points. That's the majority of the points. If you go alone and get all 5, you get 4. There are some complicated things around the fact that if a suit is trumped, the jacks move and are much more powerful. The jack of that suit and the same color offsuit. But that's, that's just too complicated to get into unless you're actually like sitting down to learn. Don't worry about that until you're sitting down to learn.
Yeah, I just to clarify a bit, because I don't think it's too overcomplicated. Just the jacks become the highest in the suit, so it goes jack of the suit,
and it's
jack of the same color,
ace,
king, queen, 10, 9.
Right.
Remaining of the suit are the highest of that suit,
and the jack of the other suit is for all intents and purposes has switched suit. Yeah, has switched
and that's pretty much the main
thing
complication
that trips up
in the game.
Yeah.
Like you'll play a game where like diamonds is trump and somebody leaves hearts, and then a new player might accidentally throw the jack of hearts, and everybody has to be like, wait,
that's a diamond.
That counts as a diamond right now. You realize that, right? That's the second highest diamond. And then sometimes they're like, yeah, I know, I'm trumping hearts, and it just looks like I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
Or they're like, oh shit, and they pick it back up and they play a 10 of hearts or something.
But when in this instance the jacks of the 2 black suits stay in their own suits and stay where jacks normally are in order.
Yeah, so it's only the trump suit and the matching color, because it loses its jack, that get changed.
So it's like if you have a hand and you have all 4 jacks in your hand, you're like, well, I've got 2 tricks, but then these other 2 cards are useless.
Yeah. Yes.
Whatever trumps can happen, I've got 2 tricks, but that's it.
That's the best hand to have as a partner.
Yes.
You really want your teammate to name a trick, and then you're like, sweet.
Yeah.
I've got 2 of it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's a hard pat. Like that's like, don't never declare a suit then, because then
unfortunately, since nobody else has any jacks, they're probably not going to call a suit.
That's where you fuck the dealer, and the dealer isn't your partner.
Yeah. Or hope the dealer's not your partner, and then you've got the top 2 and hopefully can set them.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's actually nice to have Andrew on this show, because Euchre is hugely popular in Michigan.
Yeah, I spent. I mean, this is a very much of a nostalgia game for me. I spent a lot of childhood playing euchre, especially in my Boy Scout troop, and like in college in Chicago, I was part of a euchre club that gathered every week in the dining hall to play euchre. We usually had 4 or 5 games going at once.
When did you learn?
I learned euchre in college at Purdue in Indiana.
Okay,
was where I learned euchre. All of
the Midwest.
Yeah, pretty much most of my close friends when I was in college were all from Indiana, especially northern Indiana. And yeah, they all knew euchre.
Yeah.
Meeting Megan's family, like they're all Eupers and they play the shit out of euchre. They also do play the double euchre and the pinochle.
Yeah.
I just haven't learned. I don't know it, and so they're all playing and are very intense. And I'm like, I'm gonna go play euchre with the kids table. But that's where I learned it. What about you, Zach?
I learned it from someone from Michigan. So,
roughly when?
Oh, when I was a kid. Because
Okay.
they played with my parents, and then they're like, so there's always 4 of them, and I would be like, they'd come over for euchre night or whatever, and I'd be like, "What are you guys doing? Playing euchre?" Okay, well, I guess I'll just go back upstairs then, because it was just But then one time, someone didn't show up, and so then I got introduced to it then. So yeah,
got to sit at the adult table.
I did, yes.
I think one of the, especially by the time I was playing in college, one of the things that I really enjoyed about euchre that has now since started to be a bit of a downside, that I didn't have to think all that much. It's only 5 cards in your hand. Like there are only so many variations,
and it's not like spades or
Right.
other trick taking ones where you're like, I only want to take this amount.
Right.
This one, it's any trick you can take, unless you're overplaying your partner. You just want to take whatever you can.
So it's good. It's a good game to have a conversation while you're playing the game.
Like sit at a bar,
Yeah.
drink, hanging out.
Yeah.
Or at a party. Sit at a table at a big
Exactly.
party. You can play a game of euchre and do other things and not really pay attention.
No, you don't have to focus on the game as much.
Yeah.
Which, like you alluded to there, I think it's also one of its biggest weaknesses is
Yeah.
it's a game you don't have to think about a lot. A lot of times hands almost play, once you get to a certain level,
Right.
and especially if you're playing amongst equal skill levels,
and
hands
and
tend
know
to play
your partner.
themselves.
Yeah. Like during a game, there'll be like a handful of times where you're like, I could play this or this, and like actual thought comes into play.
Right. Like which
but for the most part, it's I'm just gonna play this. I'm just gonna play this.
when I was regularly playing with my best friend back in Chicago, we'd like just develop a habit when we were on the same team of like, you always count on your partner for one of the 3 tricks.
Yeah.
And like and sometimes maybe 1.5. I'm like, let's just go for it.
Yeah.
Like, you get to in part because it's easier in that sense, you get to be riskier, and that leads to, and oftentimes a lot more fun of like, it's gonna be close.
Yes. No. Yeah. 100%. Where it's like, I'm gonna call this suit.
Yeah.
I have 4 of it, but I have the bottom 4.
Right.
Let's see how it goes.
Yeah. It's also one where I've noticed, like, at a certain point, for a little while, we were doing a weekly euchre night on Thursdays.
Yes.
Yeah.
At
there
a
was
bar.
there was a bar that has.
Well, it
had a
wasn't.
tournament.
It was monthly.
Yeah.
But we were doing a regular euchre night, and you were it wasn't partners. You were
Right.
just your own person, and you rotated. Like the 2 losers rotated to different tables. The 2 winners stayed, but one of them moved over, so they didn't stay partners.
Right.
And you totaled points based on your scores, and then whoever had the most at the end of the night got like a growler, and other people got a beer, whatever. Not important. We were playing a lot more regularly, and it was there where when you play, that was the first time I really played a lot
of it
in one sitting,
Mhm.
and it became rapidly apparent to me that anytime, if you ever have like the 2 jacks and the ace,
Oh yeah.
I mean, you almost might as well, and if you have one other trump, you might as well go alone.
Yes.
Like you've got your 3. There's no downside to going alone and not getting it as long as you get your 3.
Mm-hmm.
And so you could regularly just kind of wing in a prayer. Like,
Right.
it's better for me to bid my 3 alone
Yeah.
than somebody else bid something if
Exactly.
I pass, and then now I've got dick.
Yeah.
My favorite tactical wrinkle along that is that you actually, in going alone, you don't need the right power, which is the jack of the suit that is trump, and therefore that jack is the highest card in the game. You don't need that card. If you have a really good hand but don't have it, you can go alone and like if it's buried, it doesn't matter anyway. If your partner has it, it was a trick that was going to go to you, and now one of your cards is better for it. And if your opponents had it,
you were never going to get it.
You were never going to get all 5 anyway.
Yep.
So you might as well just go alone, even if you don't have the right power.
Yeah, and definitely once you start playing, hands go quicker too, because there'll be a lot of times where like, all right, I do this, I play this, and then like as soon as like someone gets to the third point, everyone else realizes like the other ones aren't useless, especially you're like, and I've got the kicker or something. Like it's like, oh, I have like you got all 3 points, but I have the highest card now, so
it's left in the game. So I've got the stopper.
Yes, exactly.
And so you're not gonna get all 5, so you don't get 2, but you got your 3, so you got 1 point. We don't need to play the last 2 hands.
And then occasionally you can have those hands of not only are you going alone, but it's just a lay down.
Yeah.
Of where I've had it a couple times. You're like, and I have the 5 highest cards in here, so I'll take 4 points.
Yeah. Which is like on the one hand kind of awesome the first time it happens, but also it's like, well, that was a completely random.
At least once you get to it. What sucks is when somebody's new enough, they don't realize that they have that, and then you play it out. And it's like, wait, you had the Jack, Ace, King, 10.
Yeah,
that's a loner. That's a lay down loner right there.
Yeah,
like, nobody's gonna beat that.
Yep.
And to go along with your other things playing faster. Sometimes again with experienced players, you can open, you win the bid, and you can just open with like, here's the 2 jacks. Play 2.
Yeah.
Play 2 spades. And everybody plays their top 2 spades or
bottom 2 spades. Yeah.
Plays 2 spades if they can. And if not, then you see like, oh, I did play 2 and Zach laid down 2 diamonds for spades. Cool. Yeah. He's got nothing in trump. And things like that can just move along.
One of my friends in college did recommend, and we did this a few times, playing to 15 instead of 10 just because it reduces the power of going alone, which is such a luck-based.
That's, I could see that,
That is I've never met anybody besides him, and he's from like Quad Cities, border between Illinois and Iowa. I've never met anybody besides him who recommended that, but I think it's a really good idea.
Yeah. Because, if you get a loner being 4 out of the 10 points,
it's 40%.
Yeah, exactly. Huge swing.
Well, and especially like even if you're down like 7 or 6 to 9, you get that, and then you win. So it's.
But I think that also it would make it harder to be the team that's in a 6 to 9 situation and know like
there's still a chance.
Like we're playing to 15. Like even if I get my, like we've been getting smoked all game.
Right.
I'm not gonna have a last shot loner to win.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I'm fine with either. Like I've gotten to a point with Euchre where I know. I used to like it, like in college, it was like, I didn't play a lot of, I didn't play any board games. I only really played card games. And so it was like one where I felt like, I was actually thinking and doing things. And it wasn't until later that I learned other games and I was like, actually, it's not as much.
Yeah. No. Well, it's just like, because your only experience before was, I'm guessing, Go Fish or something.
No,
like
I mean it was like
or
other
War.
rummies. No, like legit game, like rummy spades.
Yes.
Like I played spades and hearts long before I learned Euchre, so I was familiar with trick taking long before Euchre. But it was still just like that was I didn't play anything regularly, and so even occasionally playing it in college, it was like I'm actually having to think about this because it's not something I do all the time.
Right.
When I started playing again here in Denver, because I played it in college a bit, and then I didn't play it. Like, I left Purdue in 2009. I moved to Denver in 2012. Even living in Michigan, I don't think I ever played Euchre, which is weird to think about, actually.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Denver, and I don't think I played my first year here. And then it was like one of those random things where somebody mentioned Euchre, and it was like,
oh, I know Euchre.
Oh, wait, I know Euchre.
Yeah.
And we have such a collection of, like, especially people from Chicago here.
Yes.
It's
not surprising that there's a
lot of Euchre players.
Yeah, shocking number of people from Michigan in Denver.
Yeah.
Like, maybe not in our game. Like, Chicago's overrepresented in our game group.
Right.
So fucking overrepresented. But Michigan, like, in Denver, like, I'd say the 3 non-Colorado people I run into the most in Denver are Michigan, Texas, and California.
Yeah.
Texas and California makes sense. They're like two of the biggest states in the union.
They
Michigan has also lost population at a time when the entire country is growing because people are leaving Detroit.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You know, I grew up in Detroit. I'm no longer living there. I'm one of them. You know?
It's one of the only like cities of a certain size in the U.S. that has a decreasing population.
At its height in 1950 something or other, it was almost 2 million. It was like 1.95, and now it's 0.75.
Yeah.
So yeah. Some of those just moved out to the suburbs. Others left Michigan entirely.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I lost the train of thought. But the thing I've come to realize as I've started playing Euchre again that has saved Euchre for me is kind of treating it less as a game that I'm trying to win, which is something I need to just get better about in general. I need to not try to win every game I play, but just treat it as like something to do while I'm having fun with my friends.
Yeah, it uses a little bit of brain power and yeah.
And I find the games like that, once I reach a certain point with a game where I kind of hit that, where it's like, this is mostly luck driven and it actually doesn't matter. That's where Smack Talk gets the most fun.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because you know when you give somebody shit about a good hand or a bad hand,
it doesn't.
They really didn't have anything to do with that, and
that's not going to. Yeah, it's not going to stop you from doing that.
And the Midwestern roots of Euchre really come out in the Smack Talk, or especially around when you get to 9 out of 10 points.
There's a lot of weird things, like there's like opening barn doors and like.
So one thing we haven't discussed is most people use 2 5s or a 6 and a 4, since you're not using them in the game, as a way of keeping score. Just however many pips on the card are showing, or how many points that team has. And when you get to 9, the way I've always done it is like take both of those cards and you stick both of them behind your ear, like one behind each ear. It's to, like, I guess, look kind of like a cow, and then you lace your fingers together and hold them upside down so the thumbs are down, and you have your partner milk you. It's just as a way of like celebrating the fact that you're like 9/10 of the way to winning the game. It's real weird.
Yeah,
but
it is easily the best is when it's like you're playing, especially if you're playing with like people who know that,
right?
But you don't really know them well,
right?
Because then it's like this awkward like this is tradition, so I'm gonna milk your thumbs, but I don't know you that well, so this is real awkward.
Yeah, I like doing it. Like, so our friends Alan and Mallory, like they're the first people I saw do that, and I always like messing with people who did that a lot. So it'd be like if we were playing and you put up your udders to do it, I would also put up udders, and then I would touch your udders with my udders. And they're like, "Oh, stop it!
That's different and wrong." I think you've done that to me.
Yeah.
It is very uncomfortable.
And this is totally not at all essential for the gameplay. This is just the culture that is built up around it because it's played by farmers mostly.
Yeah, just weird.
Yeah,
Midwesterner shit, flyover state shit.
Yeah.
All right. So we've talked about Euchre thoroughly here.
That it's definitely the lowest in terms of thought of these 3 games.
Yeah, especially of the 3 we're going to cover, and then especially of all the trick taking games I play, it is easily the lowest thought of them.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if there were any trick-taking games that were lower thought. I mean, I love Euchre.
War.
War's not even trick-taking, is it?
I mean, by definition, isn't it? You play 2 cards in the center, whoever wins takes the hand. That's a trick-taking game.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It's literally just,
the war is who shuffles better.
War is arguably as predetermined as Candyland.
More so.
Well,
no, they're both a deck of cards that you play in order.
Well, but then you shuffle, and you only
I never shuffle.
I've never shuffled in War.
Oh,
you
sorry,
shuffled.
No, you're right. That's my bad. You don't shuffle.
Yeah,
because it's important in War to know when your good combos are coming. Yeah. Oh yeah, my last turn, this ace beat this king, so I'm gonna have 2 good cards in a row now.
That does matter in Egyptian Rat Screw.
Yes.
But different
Other
games
games
we're not talking about.
We should have. It's April Fool's, so we should have fucking thrown War into this shit. All right, so
here's my review of War. Don't play it.
Jack, good God, don't.
Definitely don't play it as a drinking game. Especially if your drinking game involves shots. Don't do that.
Ooh, no.
This sounds like there's a story behind that.
Thankfully, I had learned that War was a shit game long before I started drinking. Maybe it would have taken longer if I was drinking for me to realize how bad war is.
Then again, if you were drinking and the other person wasn't, they'd be cheating enough that that it would last not nearly as long.
Yeah.
True. All right, so let's talk about cribbage. So cribbage is next up in the order we're doing these in terms of the number of cards used. You use an entire deck of cards.
And
still no jokers.
And only a deck of cards.
And only one deck of cards.
Yes.
One deck.
One entire deck of cards. And then commonly, cribbage is played with a cribbage board, which is at its most basic, just a plank of wood with a bunch of holes drilled in it that make a little circular S-ish pattern to 121. It's like a spiral.
Yeah. It's a racetrack, basically.
I've seen them. I mean, if you do a quick Google search for cribbage boards, there are an endless variety. My grandparents have an awesome one that's on a huge, like 10-point elk antler, where like each player has their own branch that comes down to the final end, where you're like on the main stem. You know, I've got a cool one that's the UP that Megan's mom got me as a stocking stuffer. It's a clearly very cheap, mass-produced UP cribbage board.
Yeah,
but I still love it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Our friend Allison has.
She has the coolest fucking one I've ever seen.
Yeah, she has one that like is a replica of one that would be played in a World War I trench.
Yeah,
that's like super tiny, like folds up to be about the size of like a matchbook.
A little bit bigger than that, but
yeah. Like the pegs for it go in. Hers is a replica, but like they would go in like a shell.
Yeah,
like and you'd roll. Oh my god, it is so cool.
It is very cool.
I want it really bad.
Yeah, but yeah, for cribbage you can play from 2 to 6 people.
Yeah.
Don't do 6. Realistically, 4 is going to be your highest that you should do.
I think most recommended at 2.
Yes.
It's still good at 3. 4 is fine.
I think
that's my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, 4. Like, yes, I would. It's if you have 4 people, you can play cribbage with it basically, but it's ideally 2 and 3. I think.
Yeah.
So.
And
because 2 and 3, it's still a single player game,
right?
But with 4 people, it is a partner's game,
right?
So.
It is basically identical to the 2-player, except that you have 4 people.
Yeah,
you're just dividing the responsibility between 2 people.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which I didn't even think about this. This is something that would have been a cool thing to include in these as well. You mentioning playing in a World War I trench with that special deck. Cribbage is the oldest. We're talking about dating back to the 1600s.
Okay.
Both Euchre and Canasta, hand and foot, that we'll talk about later, both date to more modern times.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think they're both descended, or at least Euchre is descended from whist. I think it was the original trick-taking game, at least in England, that's like 1700s, 1800s.
This article links it back to the 1860s Euchre Spiel, a German game where Euchre is Jack. And it's a game where the jacks are the highest.
Explain why, like, a lot of German immigrants to the Midwest as farmers would be where the American version of it came from.
Yeah, and then Canasta dates. Well, we'll talk about it more there, but roughly the 1940s is when Canasta first came about. So, cribbage by far the oldest of the 3 games that we're talking about today. It's been around for a long time.
Yeah, and I think. But whist is the oldest English trick-taking game.
Oh, okay.
So
I'll have to review whist on a future episode.
I don't know whist. I could at least teach you, pinochle and bridge.
I'm sure we can find the rules somewhere. If it's been around that long.
It's the game that they play in like Pride and Prejudice and things like that.
Gotcha. I hope the rules are in ye olde English. So
you son of a motherless goat.
But anyway, back to cribbage.
Yep.
So yeah, you typically play with a board of some kind.
There are apps too, so you don't
apps of varying.
I said varying degrees of
and
goodness,
and then worst case, you can use a pen and paper.
Yeah.
If you need to keep score. But I feel like it still feels like something's lost. Like pegging is such a key part of that game. It feels very important to have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So playing it varies a little bit depending on how many people you're playing with.
I would say let's just talk about the 2-person variant.
Yes.
And like, or the 2-person standard, and then like at the end we can kind of talk about the other.
Yeah. So you deal a hand of 6 cards to each of the 2 players. You look at your hand of 6 cards and you pick 2 of those cards to discard to a special pile called the crib, which whoever is the dealer at the end during scoring, they get to then score the crib. So essentially, in a 2-player game, you're making 3 hands of 4. Each of you start with 6. You discard 2 down, so you each have a hand of 4, and then your 2 discards from each of you become that third hand. Then you play out the cards, which we'll talk a little bit more in depth about.
That's because there's 2 stages: the like playing phase and then the showing phase.
Yeah. So you play your cards out in order, or in like back and forth. You take turns playing a card, totaling the sum of them. Once it reaches 31, you start back over. Points are scored along the way for things like hitting 15, hitting pairs, hitting runs, hitting 31 exactly, being the last one to play a card in one of those rounds.
If you don't hit 31.
If you don't hit 31. And then once you've played out your entire hands and scored all of those points, you pick them back up, and then you go into the next round of scoring.
The showing phase is what they call it,
where you total all of the different points that are available in your hand. The other player goes first, and then the dealer does their hand, and then the dealer picks up the crib and plays theirs.
And again, you're looking for pairs and runs and 15s.
So things that add up to 15. Right. So,
and during that showing phase, the top card of the deck is also revealed.
So basically, you're out with you have a 5-card hand in that respect,
with the 5th card being random,
a common one.
And you do that over multiple hands. Until somebody reaches 121 points. And at which point they are immediately the winner. Once you cross 121, game immediately ends.
It's a race to 121, not who scores it. Whoever scores the most.
One thing that is important in the showing phase is that cards can count as points, like can give you points multiple ways. So like if you have an 8, an 8, and a 7, the 8s combined get you a pair. And each 8 with the 7 gets you another 15. So 1 pair and 2 15s for 6 total points.
Because you're looking for unique instances of whatever it is.
Yeah.
So, like just like that, or if you had a 7, 8, and a 9, that's a run of 3 points. But then you also have the 8 and the 7, which gives you a 15.
Yeah. Which can lead to some really weird things where you're trying to count things out. Like a double run is 10, which a double run
8.
Double run of 3 is is 8.
It's hard to talk about these things for me without having anything in front of me to score them off of. But so a double run would be 8 because like a double run is just a thing where you have a run of 3 and then one of those 3 cards you have a pair of it. So like you could have a 7, 8, 9 and then another 9. So you have a run of 3 and then you swap the 9s and you have another run of 3 and then you have a pair of 9s.
And then there's also a 3 and a 2 for 8 total points.
And then there'd be the 8 and the 7s in there, which would be 15. And
if you added like another 7 to that, then it's like a quadruple run because you can switch the 9s and then switch the 7s with each of the 9s. So
4 different ways of making
exactly. So it's all about unique instances of what you, and that also means that you could have 3 of a kind. That's 3 unique pairs of 2.
Yeah.
So that's why a pair is worth 2 points, but a 3 of a kind is worth 6 points because it's 3 pairs.
Right. In Cribbage, it's normally known as a pair royal, but that's you don't actually need to know that. It's just 3 of a kind.
Yeah.
And so does that mean the 4 of a kind is a pair royal with cheese?
Yes. Okay. No, it's a double
royale with cheese.
Yeah. Double pair royal is the term for that, and that's 12 points because there are 6 different ways of making pairs.
Yeah. And it gets complicated sometimes doing some of the score because you got to watch out for weird things. Like you've got a hand of 4 cards plus that top card. So out of 5, I mean, you could have a 9, a 4, and an ace. Like those 3 cards add up to 15.
No, they don't.
A 9, a 5, and an ace.
9 and 5 and an ace. Sorry.
Yeah.
Hate not having these things in front of me.
Yeah.
You could have a 1, 2, 3, and a 9, and that's a 15 right there.
Plus a run of 3.
Exactly.
And another one of the main variants that I see in this game is how mean you want to play it. And basically, if you want to play it really mean,
well, there's 2 levels. One is like no one helps you with your scoring,
right?
And so
that's a basic meanness.
If you miss it, then you miss out on points.
Yeah. So there's friendly where everybody works together to make sure everybody scores the most points they can,
which is really what you should really do when you're teaching somebody this game, and or when you're learning this game, because there's no point in for you if you because you just aren't good at identifying all the different ways that someone who's played this game
it's
a lot.
A learned skill to like see all the different combinations.
Then there's the mid tier of meanness where it's like, you've played a few times, I feel confident that you should know all of this, I'm not going to help you. If you miss something, you miss it.
You miss it. I'll point out what you missed,
but you don't get to score.
You don't get to score it.
You didn't see it. You don't get to score it. And then there's the meanest, which is after you've announced what you've scored, people can point out anything you missed, and they get the points.
Called muggins, basically.
Yeah.
I've versions of it.
That's
on my app, Cribbage with Grandpa. It's
Wikipedia calls it muggins as well.
I want to point out that I think there is a meaner level of this game, and that is how Zach plays with Matt.
Psychological warfare. Yeah. So basically, for that is because in the beginning I would always just be like, is that all you? Is that like anytime
as a way of coaching?
As a way of coaching him, but now I use it as I'll just say it whether or not he's missing points, and then it causes him to self-destruct over his cards. And then the thing is that makes it great is it's still like 30% of the time he'll be missing something.
That's
maybe
even a little high. I'd say 20%.
10-20%.
Yeah.
Just enough though that
it's a real chance.
It's a real chance, and so yeah.
And he just like falls to pieces like, I don't know. Yeah.
I feel like did I do that to you, Adrian?
Yeah.
Too? Yeah.
The most recent time I hadn't played in years with you guys.
Yeah.
You've been playing it a lot lately, and I've been like, man, every time I want to play, though, like you guys are already playing. It's like, fuck, I would have played. And then I finally got a chance to play with you guys. I almost missed a thing. You let me have it, but then after that, every single time, you were like, sure you got everything, Adrian?
Yeah.
Adrian, are you
sure?
Are you done?
Yeah.
That's your final answer? Fuck you guys. Fuck you guys. Stressing me out. I don't want to play anymore. I don't know why I play anything with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's this is the game. It's such a weird game.
So it's so that's only in the showing phase too. During the playing phase, most of those things still apply.
Yeah.
And so that's things you have to keep track of. So if I played, like, you can still count a run. And if it's I play an ace and then you play a 2 and then I play a 3, that's an unbroken run.
Yeah.
And that means if you played a 4, then it is now it's still another unbroken run. So I would score 3 points for mine, but then you would score 4 points for yours.
But if it had gone me playing a 3 and then you playing an ace and then me playing a 2, even though it went 3 ace 2, that still counts as a run.
Yes.
I've had a run, a 6 card long run that didn't have any runs before it.
Yeah.
Like it was like a 3, a 4, a 7, a 6, and then a 5.
Right. Yeah. And so that's things you just have to pay attention to, and that's why you play out the cards in front of you, but not in a way to cover them, and like in a sort of consistent order. And pairs work the same way. If I play an ace and then you play an ace, that's 2 points, and then if I play another ace, that's 6 points for me. And then, like you said, playing to 15 points gets you 2, and then but playing to 31 points gets you 2 as well. Basically, how I've described this game is I feel we haven't even talked about jacks,
right?
And shit like that.
Heels and knobs.
It's arbitrary. The game. There's just a bunch of rules that are like these are the rules. And then specifically, I feel that if you have no idea what cribbage is, and then you watch somebody play cribbage, you will have less of an idea about what cribbage is after you've watched them play the game. Especially because if it's two people who have played this very well, like when me and Andrew play, it's super quick.
Yeah.
And it's just boom, 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 boom. And then we score. Oh, I've got, 15, 2, 4, blah, 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 blah. Here's my point. And then you go on.
Yeah.
And then you're watching it. Like you could watch it and you're like, what the fuck is happening here? Because at least with,
it sounds like Calvin Ball, but with cards. Like we're making up the rules as we go
it's
along.
like you play a 10.
Yeah.
And then I play a 5 and I go 15 for 2 points. And then you play another 5 and you go, well, 20 for 2 points. But then later on, you play 10 and I play a queen and then it's just 20. Yeah. But then you play jack and you're like 30 for 3 points. And you're like, what the fuck is going on?
And then you play an ace and you're like
31 for 2.
Yeah. And last card for another.
Yeah. But for me, I know you're talking about shit talking. This is the game I cuss the most at because there are so many times you can get and I love it because more often than not I'm on the good side of it, where every time you play anything, like say you play a 7, I play an 8. That's 15 for 2.
Yeah.
And then later on you're just like, all right, well I'll play another 8 and 23 for 2 points, and I'm like, well I'll play another 8 And that's 31 for 6 points
plus
the 2.
Yeah.
So it's 8 points. And then, but like every time you're trying to play something, I'm like, oh, well, I have the card that'll give me points based off that. And it's just like super frustrating.
How do I not give you points?
That was just super on display on our win on Wednesday. Because like Wes would be about to play and you're like, hey, Wes, play. You would hold up a card. You'd be like, Wes,
play this card.
Play this card. And Wes would play and he'd be like, 7. And you'd be like, 8, 15 for 2.
And it's just like, God damn it. Yeah.
I thought you had the 10. You had the 10.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's and weird things feel like anytime you like if you lead a 5, like that's a bad play because there's so many 10s. Like it's
every
really
face card counts as 10. We didn't mention that yet, but
10, Jack, Queen, King, all worth 10 points.
So Ace is only 1
as a 10.
Yeah, Ace is only 1, and it doesn't loop around.
Right.
So yeah.
But like. So but functionally from an odds perspective, playing a 6 versus playing a 7, really equal chance that they'll have the
9
whatever
or the 8. Yeah.
I mean, basically, you would have to look at
so much like they're just in your head when you play a 6 and they're like 9, 15 for 2.
Yeah.
Also, like a weird thing if you're playing, we haven't started talking about much out of the 2-player realm, but if you're playing like a 3-player game, runs don't have to be in order.
Right.
Well,
that was true in the 2-player, and
I missed that.
Yeah, we did cover that. But I mean, that's good. We should start talking about the 3.
I started reading too much of the history of cribbage on Wikipedia.
But 3-player plays very, very similar. You're still going around. Instead of alternating, you're just going around in a circle, playing until you get to 31. There are no differences except in how many cards you get to start with and what goes into the crib. So you start with, instead of starting with 6 and giving 2 to the crib, you start with 5 and give 1 to the crib,
and
then
one gets dealt.
1 is randomly dealt into the crib.
Yeah. And then a 3-player is just everybody for themselves playing like normal. All the same scoring applies. Nothing changes there. If you move to 4 players, you typically play teams. You sit across from your partner.
You always play teams. I don't think.
I don't think there's a 4-player version.
Is there really not a 4-player
Not
version?
that I know. I've never seen a board that could handle that. I've seen 2 and 3, but that's it.
Yeah,
I mean,
I've never seen a 4-player board. That was the exact same evidence.
This also says commonly played with 3, 4, or more.
You can play
I guess
6.
You can play 6.
You can play 9.
Oh God.
Yeah. So
No,
I've played 6 players once. Don't do that. It's pretty garbage.
But anyway, so at 4 you play as teams.
And again, you get 5 cards.
and everybody discards 1.
Right.
Yeah.
To the crib, and there's no need to deal the 1.
One thing that I think we kind of touched on earlier, but I want to, if we didn't make it explicit, it is really important, is that when it comes time to do the showing, as Zach called it, I've always called it melding phase, the person to the left of the dealer always scores first, and then it goes around, or alternates if it's only a 2-person, and the dealer then scores their hand and then their crib, and it goes in that order specifically because it is a race to 121 points. And what order you score in is crucial, especially at the end of the game.
Yes, definitely, especially if it's close.
Yeah, because the dealer getting to score essentially 2 hands, albeit one of them.
So they say
more or less random.
Oh, right. Well, I mean, it depends. If you're playing 2-player, you're putting 2 cards in there, so you have more control about what goes in there.
Yeah. You as the dealer, knowing you're getting the crib, might throw a 10 and a 5,
right, or a 9 and a 6.
Yeah, something that you know is going to give you some points.
Because even with 2 players, having 6 cards, it's easier to make a better hand for yourself versus when you're playing with 3 or 4, where you're just getting rid of 1 card.
Yeah.
This one you get rid of 2 cards, and if you're the dealer, it's a lot easier for you to set up something for yourself in the crib.
Right.
Or
also, give a 2 and a 3 so that any 10s will give you a 15 or something.
Also important to note, you don't flip that top card of the deck until after you've already dedicated cards to the crib. So you don't get to see what that common card is until you've already contributed. So then it might flip and you're like, God damn it. I fucked up.
Yep.
It is possible to to play a series of games where each game would be theoretically worth 1 point and you'd go to 8 or so. Most standard boards have an option of a a smaller track for that. If you were playing like that, or if you just like bragging rights, you will pay attention to if somebody gets to 121 points and another player in that game has not gotten to 90 points, you're skunked. There is a line on all of the boards of like, this is the skunk line.
Yeah.
And 60 points is double skunking.
Which I've seen on some, I have not seen on others.
Right.
But it's basically when you skunk someone, you either get a point, an extra point, or they lose a point. It depends on which thing you play.
Or it's just bragging rights if you're only playing one.
So there's 4 official scoring variations.
Oh.
There's the official tournament rules, long match scoring, free play, and then free play with triple skunk.
Triple skunk?
Tell me more.
And so typically, and I've never actually played under any, because typically these you play.
I would assume you
play to the different points.
Yeah.
So we're doing even free play. We're not doing because we don't count points for wins. We just play one game as one game.
Oh, okay.
So in official tournament rules, a normal win gets you 2 points. A skunk gets you 3 points, and there's no double skunk or triple skunk.
Okay.
In free play rules, 1 point for a win, 2 points for a skunk, 3 or 4 points for a double skunk.
Mm-hmm.
In free play with triple skunk, 1 point for a win, 2 points for a skunk, 4 points for a double skunk, automatic win for a triple skunk.
I mean, you should just stop playing.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of luck in this game, but there's not that much luck.
No. That's clearly I am so much better than you. I'm going to just advance right now to the next round.
But even though you said there's not a lot of luck in this game, there's definitely one cool thing about a lot of cribbage apps I've seen are like discard analyzers will be like, oh, you should have discarded this because you had a better chance of doing this. Or it'll be like, hey, when trying to peg, you played this card, you should have played this card instead.
Right.
There was a time when I lost like 95 to 121, and it was just like, you made no bad moves. You played as best you could, and you just lost.
Yep.
Because it's all dealt. I mean, it's even if you're really good at the game, if you get a hand of garbage,
right,
and the opponent gets a quadruple run, there's nothing you can do to stop that.
Right.
So,
yeah. God, that's the most frustrating. When you're in that like pegging phase or showing. Is that what you
showing?
No, show's the end.
Yeah.
What did you? Because
like the playing phase. But I always call it like the pegging.
I guess
phase,
this calls it the play as well.
Yeah.
When you realize, like it happened to me 2 weeks ago at game night when I was playing with you and Paul and you guys were being dicks.
Yeah. That tracks
every night.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I played something like somebody had played, I don't know, a 7 or something, and I played something, and then like the next turnaround I played like a 9, or maybe it was a 6 and a 9, something like that. And Paul was like, "You could have done that for 15 like last play."
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
You're right. Fuck.
So I think this one definitely has a higher skill level than.
But it's entirely math. Not entirely, but it's a lot of like math skill.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of math skills that help here, and then also being able to identify the patterns. Of recognizing what's a good hand and what isn't.
Yeah, that's sort of tangential to math. Like if you're good at mental math, you will probably be good at like recognizing the patterns of like, oh, that's that'll be good for me. That'll like even if
knowing weird addition tables that add up to 15,
right?
Super crucial.
Yeah. A run of 4 of 6, 7, 8, 9 has 2 15s in it, 6 and 9 and 7 and 8, and it's a run of 4.
Yeah.
So, things like that. But I think it's a lot of fun in like the teasing each other like you sure about that? It's and having when you're the one that has the right card of like, oh, you thought you were, fooling me with a 9, or like you thought you were going to be playing it safe, and I've got the 6,
Yeah. But then you also have a lot of times when, like you have a hand, you're like, right now this is garbage, and then you flip that one card over, and you're like, well, now that made my hand, and my hand's worth 12 points now.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Completely randomly.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can set yourself up for like, well, there are 3 cards that will help me get points.
Yes.
If I do this, or if I do that, there won't be any cards.
Yeah. Well, so that's what I like, knowing the knowing when or looking at your hand and be like, the odds of like, if this card comes out, this like that will help my hand, and just trying to maximize that.
Yeah.
Is learning that skill in this game is definitely good.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And sometimes like, because that came up again 2 weeks ago when we were playing. God, I've played this a lot
Uh-huh.
the last 2 weeks. You were walked by when I was playing with Paul and Zach, and there was a hand. I didn't actually end up conferring with you because I think you walked up like right after I had done it. But I'd been like, shit, I don't really know what to throw in the crib. I don't really know what the best decision is. And then I did it, and then I was looking at it, and I was like, oh, wait, no, that was actually, so I did make the right decision. That was the good decision because getting rid of that, if I'd kept that card and the other points it may have given me, there was no extra chance for it to get better. But by getting rid of that, the cards I kept were good in and of themselves and had a better chance of getting even better.
It's the same sort of skill as like playing poker and like, what are the odds that I will make a straight on the river?
Exactly. Yes.
Like, is it worth staying in? That like those sorts of pattern recognition is the same sort of pattern recognition as goes on in cribbage.
Yep. So before we move on, just because I got distracted earlier when I apparently missed some things that you guys were talking about and then tried to talk about them twice. Thank you for not letting me do that and just being, we already talked about that. Shut up, Adrian.
Yeah.
It's because I got distracted reading History of Cribbage. So, couple quick.
Tell me about the history of cribbage, Adrian.
Couple cribbage facts. It is commonly characterized as Britain's national card game. It is the only legally playable game on licensed premises like pubs and clubs that don't require local authority permission.
In England?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Additionally, and this is something that actually really surprised me that I didn't know. So I learned cribbage as a child from my grandparents. I don't remember ever playing a single game of cribbage in the Navy, but cribbage holds a special place among American submariners, serving as an official pastime. The wardroom of the oldest active submarine in the U.S., United States Pacific Fleet. That probably explains it because I was Atlantic Fleet. Carries the personal cribbage board of World War II submarine commander and Medal of Honor recipient Rear Admiral Dick O'Kane on board. And upon the boat's decommissioning, the board is transferred to the next oldest boat.
That's cool.
Wow. The other guy that was in the Navy, that's Jay. He talks about cribbage a lot, and like they have a lot of like.
I think it must be, and especially seeing this in that it's in the wardroom, which is like the officers' mess. It's an officer thing,
and he was talking about
fucking
actually
officers.
the split.
Hoity-toity bastards.
Euchre. And in his submarine, I think it was Euchre was the enlisted man's game, and cribbage was the officer's game.
Yeah, which actually, I might have played Euchre in the Navy. I'm trying to remember if I played Euchre in the Navy. I don't know. I don't remember what I played.
He had a lot more of like, how do you guys feel about like dragging your peg? I think is what he called it, or like saying like, okay, I scored 8 points, and like moving your peg 9. Like that was a thing that they did.
It sounds like they would try and cheat as much as humanly possible.
Yeah. Oh, God, that's a thing we didn't talk about in Euchre.
Oh,
stealing the deal. Yeah. As a...
Oh, yeah. That's a... So, see, and the problem with these is like, because these games are, I mean, cribbage especially, and I think it's why it's arbitrary, the game, it's from the 1600s.
Yeah.
But even the other ones, they're old games. So, like, old games have a way of, everybody has their own unique family's way of playing that involve weird off. If we talked about all the variants, we'd be here all night for one game. But stealing the deal is another.
Which you could do in cribbage too.
I suppose it's possible. Yeah, I've never. It's not a tradition in cribbage in the way like trying to steal the deal is a tradition in Euchre.
Yes.
I know in college I got to be. I played it often enough that I would like let people think that they were stealing the deal just so that they would shuffle for me, and then like, all right, thank you. Like, all right, I'll deal now.
Nice. One last thing I want to say is that that app I had, the Cribbage with Grandpa, it always say weird things. So it's like I've scored, I just scored 4 and had all these weird rhymes that when I played, I was visiting my grandparents for my grandpa's 80th birthday. And basically, I let him know that I knew how to play cribbage. And he was like, oh, you know how to play cribbage? And then so we started playing, and he fucking said that shit. It was bonkers. Like, he started rhyming, and I was like, holy shit, the app is right?
They predicted your cribbage with your grandpa.
Yeah, I was like, weird 1920s conventions of cribbage.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God.
That's 4 no more, sonny.
Yeah. Also, a weird fact too is that you can't score 19 in this game. The highest.
So all scores from 0 to 29 are possible except for 19, 25, 26, and 27.
There we go.
Yeah.
So there's 4 scores that you cannot make with any hand.
Yeah.
19 being for some reason the most popular of them.
It's the lowest.
Well, it's the lowest, and it's like the others. It is. You have to have very specific hands to get above. You said 25, 26, and 27
Are the 3? Yeah.
Yeah, I would assume
29 is the highest.
Yes.
It's a perfect hand.
So that is you have 3 5s in your hand, and then you have a jack that matches the suit of the 5th or the 4th 5 that gets flipped up.
Yeah.
That is the best hand you could ever have in this game.
And the 28 is the exact same hand, but with any 10 instead of the jack, or like a jack that doesn't hit the knobs.
Yeah. Imagine if you had a jack that matched the 5 in your hand.
Yeah.
How annoyed would you be at that?
Yeah.
Very, very annoyed.
Only 28 points.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I've never hit that in my, like, I it's very, very rare because it has to be, there's only 4 combinations in all of it, that can happen. But I know you've gotten close.
I've gotten so damn close.
Yeah.
I've like taken screenshots and I've shown Zach like, oh man, God, I was so damn close.
Yeah.
But yeah. But yeah, so but because of that, because it's impossible to score 19 is often used as a joke way of saying 0.
Yeah, it's like, oh, scored 19 points.
Yeah.
It's also apparently a fairly common 29 and 19 are fairly common cribbage board.
Yeah, I've
patterns
seen 29. Yeah.
So yeah, that's cribbage. So now we can move on to the last game of tonight's discussion, and that is a game I introduced to the group.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody knew this before I brought it, and I don't know.
I'd heard of it, but I ended up playing variations.
Yeah.
But.
So I know it as hand and foot, which that's how I knew it for a long time until eventually somebody started pestering me about it, and I did a little bit of research and discovered that it's my family's version of hand and foot canasta. So it's a canasta variant. Canasta being a rummy type game, which I don't even know where to start with rummy.
Gin and rummy are like, it's just a big
melding,
family. Yeah. Like you're just games where you're trying to create sets and runs.
Yep. And play them down to get out with ideally you want to get rid of all the cards in your hand first.
Right.
Yeah.
Usually the games are like that.
Yeah. So Canasta, being a rummy family, it's very heavy in sets. You can do runs, but they're harder and
not as valuable usually.
Well, arguably more valuable because they're harder to do. Runs are incredibly valuable.
If you complete them.
If you complete them,
yeah.
But they're hard to complete. And so Canasta itself, since we kind of started this with cribbage there, Canasta was invented in the 40s.
Oh, wow.
In Uruguay.
Oh, that's surprising.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then kind of took over South America and then came to the U.S. in 48. So like the early 40s, it got really popular. It was developed in Uruguay, went to Chile, Peru, Brazil, and Argentina, and then came to the U.S. in the late 40s.
I had no idea.
Yeah. So what I'm not entirely sure, and I should have done some research because canasta is weird, and especially then getting to hand and foot. Base canasta, you just play with like a hand.
Yeah.
So it's almost
2 decks.
Yeah, it's 2 decks of cards, and you only really have the hand, and you just play it out similar, but scoring's a little bit different. Hand and foot, the variation I play, you play with 4 decks of cards, including jokers, and you shuffle them all together, you deal them out. Everybody gets 2 piles of 11 cards.
Mm-hmm.
You pick one of them without looking. You pick one to be your hand, and you set the other side to be your foot. It's a partner's game with 4 players. I think there's variants to play with other numbers. I've never played with anything but 4.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard you can add 2 more decks and play with 6 for 3 sets of partners, but fuck me.
No, it takes long enough with just 4. So,
and then you start playing, and this is another one that is so weird to explain to people because you feel like you're explaining all these rules, and especially you start big, so you start with like, you're trying to complete sets of at least 7 cards. Ones that don't have any wilds are considered pure. Ones that do have wilds are dirty. Once you close them, a dirty is worth 300 at the end. A pure is worth 500. Runs, if you can get a run of 7 cards, is worth 1,200 points. And so you're talking about like 400 and 1,200, and people are like, why don't you just cut it down? Why isn't it worth 4 and 12? 3, 5, and 12, and you played 100 instead of 2 10,000.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, that's because then when you score at the end, you then after you've scored all of your meld, which is closed books, threes, and closed runs, then you pile everything together except for the threes, and then you count it again, and 4 through 7 are 5 points, 8 through king are 10 points, aces and twos are 20 points because twos are wild, and there were 20 jokers are also wild, but they're worth 50 points because they're more. And
so you could cut it down by 5 and go to 2,000,
and then 1 and 2 points, or 1 and 2 points.
Yeah,
that's possible, and I would advocate for that. But like, this is based in tradition and whatever. You know?
Yeah, I don't know, and I but then I would hate to be like, you're right, it would be functionally no different. That makes me very angry.
Yes.
God damn it. I don't know. I'm just so used to counting, like, 5. Like, because at the end, the way I do it, because some people drive me crazy. My grandparents, who I learned this game from, at the end when they play, one of the players takes all of the negative cards and counts all of the negative, and the other player takes all the positive and counts all the positive, and then they tell each other, and then they do the math, and then report it. Me, I just say, give me your negatives, and then I take the deck of negatives, and I look at all the positives spread out in front of me, and I just start canceling them out, and it's like, okay, what's left, I total up, whether it's in my negative hand, hopefully not, or my positive pile on the table, scoop it all up, and then count it out into piles of 100. And it's like, all right, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 500, and 60 left over. But scoring's the weirdest part about this one.
Yeah.
And it's, again, visual medium, I need it to show like a score sheet. So I could just be like, because there's scoring tiers.
Yes.
As you score, playing to 10,000, if you're 0 to 3,000, to lay down, what you're laying down needs to total at least 50.
And by laying down, he means like the starting cards, like, you have enough sets in your hand that total enough points to get over this bar that you can put them on the table.
Yeah.
And it's not yet ending the game. It's just like
to start the game, really.
It's basically to start the game.
Yeah. So you have your hand of 11 cards, and you're looking to make sets of 3.
At least sets of 3.
Right.
Sets of at least 3, suited runs of at least 3. You have the Joker wilds and the 2 wilds that you can mix in.
Yeah, which, don't forget, this is 4 decks, so getting a suited run is easier than it would normally be. Just, to an extent, to an extent.
It's still the same percentage.
They're still the same percentage, but it feels like you're like...
There's still 3 of those 7.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not fucked when one of them comes out.
Yeah. There's always hope because there's another 70
same
cards
percentage,
in the deck.
but there are redundancies.
Yeah. But you're trying to get sets and runs built up in your hand. I'm going to even step back further. On your turn, at the start of so you deal out the things, you pick up your hand, first player goes. On your turn, you draw 2 cards. You can draw the top 2 off the deck, or you can take the top card off the discard and the top card off the deck. Those are your 2 options. You can't take 2 from the discard.
Yep.
You can't take the top card from the deck and then take the discard after you've seen it. You choose, I'm taking the discard and the top card, or I'm taking the top 2. You take them into your hand. Then if you can, you play cards in front of you into your pile.
Which usually, even though this is a partner game, one person is going to have cards in front of them.
One person on each team.
Yeah, that's what I mean. One person on each team.
2 out of the 4.
Yes.
And then at the end of your turn, you discard a card and play moves to the next player.
And so that's where, because you're discarding a card, if they're looking for they're looking for jacks or kings, you're not going to discard those if you can help it.
Yeah.
Because that's just going to help them.
Yeah. So to lay down initially, to start that pile that you and your partner can play on, depending on what score you're at, you need a different amount of points in whatever you initially lay down of sets and runs. Starting off, 0 to 3,000 points, you need 50. 3,000 to 6,000, you need 90.
So are you sure it's not 60, 90, 120, 150?
It's definitely 50.
Okay, all right.
It's definitely 50. I could go grab I've got 4 different score sheets.
It's fine.
But again, this is one of those weird things. No, and actually I'm looking at it right here.
Yeah, 50, 90, 120, 150.
Okay.
That's what it...
Although this is even different. This is first hand is 50, second hand is 90, third hand is 120, fourth hand is 150. So it's just each hand goes up, and then at the end of 4 hands, you score.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's not bad.
Yeah. It gives a defined limit.
Yes.
might actually start implementing that.
Yeah.
To be honest,
and then it's a lot less confusing too. So.
Yeah.
But then it doesn't help people who are.
Yeah, because the way we played in my family, it's almost a catch-up mechanic. If somebody jumps way ahead, they're going to start needing more and more points to lay down. And out of 11 cards, you're at a minimum going to have 55. You know, they might not all play together, but you have 55 value in your hand.
If you only have 55, presumably a lot of them will play together.
Yes. There's only like four cards that are 5. So yes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of how you could have 55 points in your hand and not have 50 to lay down.
3 4s, 3 5s,
3 6s, and 2 7s.
Yeah.
That would still.
No, you could lay down. No, because it'd be
it'd be 45. So
you would need like 5 4s, 3 5s, 3 6s, and 2 7s.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway,
it's possible. It's just real damn hard.
Yeah.
It's unlikely. And typically, because people discard those 5s, you'd almost immediately, the first time somebody to your right discards, you'd be like, it's mine now.
Yeah.
Well, then also because you add 2 cards to your hand each turn. So,
you add 2 cards and discard 1. So as the game goes on, you have more and more cards.
Holy shit. In some ways, this is harder to describe on a podcast
than even Euchre.
Euchre or Cribbage.
Yeah. It seem like much more complicated games in a lot of ways. Yeah.
Cribbage definitely is. It's definitely more complicated, but somehow easier to explain than hand and foot canasta.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to keep going into all of the. Oh man, and I got to stop reading these Wikipedia rules because I'm realizing that I don't play. If you look up hand and foot canasta and look on Wikipedia, that's not what my family plays.
We're teaching you the Richardson hand and foot canasta.
Teaching you some version my grandparents found on the internet back when they were using AOL dial-up 20 years ago.
Which this is why I'm glad we didn't do like here's a rules rundown for any of these because it was always.
We need to break out Hoyles.
Yeah. So my history with hand and foot's a little bit interesting. For the longest time, the game we played, we called Dummy Rummy. We played Dummy Rummy all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I recently found out that Dummy Rummy is basically Phase 10 without all the special Phase 10 cards.
Okay.
Also known as Contract Rummy.
Right.
Then somewhere, and I said 20 years just a second ago, it wasn't that long ago. It was like 10 years ago, maybe. Somebody introduced my grandparents to hand and foot canasta. And it almost completely replaced Dummy Rummy for us. We used to always play Dummy Rummy, and then this came along, and now we'll occasionally play Dummy Rummy to go back to something else. But hand and foot is just what we play now. They've got multiple sets of decks that are all hand and foot, and I just this last Thanksgiving when I was back, they changed them out again for the first time in a while, which pissed me off because in the previous set of 4 decks, there had somehow gotten to be one Joker that was a different back than every other card in the deck. And I knew that card. So I always could be like, fuck you, you're going to get a Joker in this deal. You son of a bitch. My family also plays it weirdly mean. Like, it's the meanest I've ever seen my grandparents get. And like, they're good, big old air quotes, good Christian family. You know, no booze in the house ever, no swearing ever. But they get mean over hand and foot canasta. But it's also one we don't take seriously. Like, we play really silly. Like, my mom, when she's over and we're playing, if she's taking the top card of the deck and, like, the top card of the discard and then takes the top card of the deck, she looks at the next card that she would have got if she took 2 to be like, oh, I fucked up.
No, you don't get to do that.
But and we all give her shit for it. Like, hey, stop it. Like, we swat at her hand as she's, like, trying to look at it. It's like a funny little... Hey, mom's a fucking cheater. Fucking bullshit. Stop looking at my cards, mom. Bullshit.
Give me some privacy,
But then
Mom.
I'm counting the cards because I know that the one fucking weird backed card is the fucking Joker.
Yeah.
And I got mad when they switched the decks on me. So it's a really bizarre... It has a bizarre holding in my family.
Yeah.
And it kind of like Euchre is one that I loved for a long time, but then as I got more into board games and taking things seriously and hating luck and randomness, got more and more frustrated with because... So often in this game, you get to a point and you've played down your cards and you're playing them and you're drawing 2 cards a turn and discarding 1 and you have 2 cards in your hand and you just need to draw like one of 12 different cards, it seems like, to be able to go out and play into your foot. And the other team's about to go out any second now and you're like, just please let me play my foot. Let me play my foot.
Because it's very frustrating when you can't either, you can't play that last card or even worse, when you just don't have enough cards to eat for either you or your partner to play down initially. And the other team are playing and they're just like, oh yeah, we're doing all this shit. Because once the card you initially play, then if you have one card that plays, you get to add it on there on your turn. Whereas we just keep building our hands more and more. And it's just like, we're just getting worse and worse until you just eventually get to vomit all the cards down.
Yeah.
And then that's what's nice.
And once the dam breaks, like
exactly. Because if you end your turn with discarding your last card, then you get to look at your foot. But if you get to play all of the cards in your hand, then you get to grab the foot and immediately start playing that. So that feels like you just are projectile vomiting cards everywhere because they just like you're like, I just finished that and now here's all of these other cards I get to play now.
We went from 0 to 25 cards down on the table in one turn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and that can suck so much when like you and your partner are doing good. Like me and my imaginary fourth partner across the table is doing really well. We've laid down and like I'm like, man, if I draw, literally anything other than a 5 and a 10, I'm gonna go out. And then I draw a 5 and a 10. It's like shit, I don't get to go out. And I play down, and then Andrew's like, oh, thank God you didn't go out. And just does that. And it's like, great. Now you guys have 700 points on the table. And we didn't get to stick you with all of that in your hand.
Which
God
would be negative.
damn it.
This is, for me, this is one like I really enjoy playing, but I don't want to say I can't really figure out why.
Yeah.
But, no, I'm the same way. It's like, I don't know why I like this game as much as I like this game. It takes too long for what it is.
Yeah,
right.
it really drags.
Really luck based.
Yeah.
And when it goes wrong, when it drags, it fucking drags.
Yeah.
But I still love to fucking play this stupid game.
Yeah, definitely. I think this would be the one I would be least likely to bring out to someone who didn't know any of these games.
Yeah.
In part just because it's so long, like it's an hour-long commitment.
At least.
At least. I've had games of this go 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, whereas like Cribbage, especially if you've got two people that know, you can get a great game of Cribbage in 15 minutes.
It's cumbersome and it's so
shuffling
fiddly.
4 decks is a pain in the ass.
And it's fiddly when you're like, all right, time to count up all my points. And you're just like, God damn, all right.
Here's 60 cards and I'm like, all right.
Yeah, well and then somebody goes, wait, where I had the deck here of my negatives. Where did it go? Oh, you scooped it up into everything as you started shuffling. I didn't count them yet.
Well, let's just say it's 400.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're trying to teach somebody new and you're like, well, these cards are worth this point, these cards, but this combination of this cards is worth, and then this, and then if you get all 2s, it's this, and then fucking, here's a sheet of paper that was hand-drawn by my grandpa that I took that explains all of the different possible point values in this game that range from 5 to 1,500. Fuck. And I still love it.
Yeah.
And I really like playing it.
Yeah.
I hate that, like, I feel like it's the one that I have the least to say about history and stuff with, and, like, I don't.
From like mid 2000s AOL culture,
yeah. So
it's a lot of fun. I like it.
Yeah,
I mean, I still like all of these. I think Euchre would be my least favorite just because it's the simplest.
It depends on the setting and it depends on the people. Like obviously, we like playing games with the people we're playing these card games with. You know,
oh yeah.
But I know for me, it's like Euchre. You have to play with 4 players. I've played like 2-player Euchre and shit like that. No, but
don't do it.
Yeah, but with like Cribbage, you can do 2, 3, or 4.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Hand and Foot's still also, in my opinion, a 4-player game.
Well, I know
they're both.
I was gonna be like, at 4, if I have a small amount of time, I'd rather play Cribbage, and I think if I had a decent amount of time, I would rather play Hand and Foot.
Yeah. But like if you're at a bar not to like play games, like if you're just
and also but Euchre is the easiest to teach out of all of these. So
and if you only have 1 deck of cards,
it's true.
You're not going to play Hand and Foot.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. You almost have to plan to play Hand and Foot.
Yeah.
So.
Which speaking of Adrian, Wednesday.
All right, I'll bring it.
Yeah.
I will re-add it to my board game bag for a while.
There you go.
I'll be in on it.
All right.
Cool. Yeah, I feel bad that I don't have more to say about Canasta. I like all of them.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't played Euchre nearly as much in a long time.
Yeah.
They scratch different itches. I'm glad I know all these games.
Yeah.
I'm glad I know basic card games. I always want to know more.
Yeah.
One thing I find funny is just like, you're here at board game night, but you're just playing cards, and it's like, I mean, you're not wrong, but also like
it's a game.
These are good games.
Yeah.
I think like the better ones stand the test of, like there's a reason why cribbage has been like since the 1600s.
Yeah. I think also like these fit our style of game night. I mean, we do game night at breweries. People are drinking.
Right.
A lot of people do it more as a social thing.
Yes.
It's the reason I don't play Food Chain at my game night. Like, we're game night for 4 hours at least. I could play Food Chain. I could go find people, sequester myself, and just play Food Chain for 4 hours at game night. But it's not what people...
There's a social aspect to it.
That's not game night.
Our game night grew up around more of a social drinking. Like, a lot of our initial members back when we first started...
We're more into the drinking.
Were people who went to the 3 other weekly meetups that were just drink and socialize meetups.
Yeah.
And then they started coming to this one because, fuck it, it's another meetup. Why not? And...
there are still a number of people that come to our meetups that don't play games.
Yeah, they just walk around, they drink, they talk to people about the games they're playing. They're,
or they just talk.
Go find a table off in the corner and chit chat.
Yeah,
and
they're still good friends of ours. Like we hang out with them
absolutely.
at game night and outside of game night.
Yep.
They just don't play games.
Yes,
but they come hang out with us.
And so I think that some of these card games really fit that well. They're things that a lot of people learned as kids.
Yeah.
Like you grew up playing Euchre.
It's what your parents and your grandparents played.
Yeah. You've got a family history behind it. It's something you can play in the case of like a Euchre, especially without overly thinking about it while you're shooting the shit and drinking beer. I could play Euchre while I took a shit.
How much brain power do you need to take a shit?
Just enough.
I may have told you guys this before, but like I exist because of the game of bridge. Like I back in the Navy, my father went to a bridge tournament with his best friend who also played bridge, and he met a girl on one of the other teams, and started going out with this girl. A little while later, they broke up, and he started dating that girl's sister, who is my mom.
Yep.
So yeah, without bridge, I would not exist.
There you go.
Well, there you go. On that wholesome note.
Yes.
There's 3 of our favorite, our well-liked card games.
3 of our most common played card games.
Absolutely.
Game
I would agree.
I think, which is why this made a good one to start with for this. And all 3 games that I don't think Jeff has played any of them.
Yeah.
Has he played Cribbage?
He's played Cribbage. He fucking has what I call the Cribbage crown for the podcast because he won. Like we had played, and then so I beat you. So I was like, I have it, and then I played Jeff. Jeff won, and then he hasn't played yet again. And I'm like, you motherfucker! I want to take that back from you.
So I got to play him to get the crown.
Yeah,
the belt,
and then you can immediately take it back.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I'm pretty sure I've never taught him hand and foot. Maybe I have. I don't know.
No, he hasn't played that.
I don't know if he's played Euchre. He used to come to Factotum and play Euchre, didn't he?
No,
never.
No.
Fucking Jeff, man.
That was before the podcast. I feel like
it was a while ago. Yeah. It might have been right at the beginning of the podcast.
Maybe.
I mean, it was early days of the podcast, but I think it was definitely in podcast times. Well, that's it.
Yep.
That's our review
/discussion.
Our review discussion of
rescussion. It sounds
3
so much better.
Rescussion. That's our rescussion of 3.
No.
I know.
No, you say that, and it immediately is apparent that does not sound better. But yeah, those are 3 basic card games that we play that we like and wanted to chit chat about.
Yep.
So hopefully that still satisfied your craving for
something.
Mile High Game Guys do things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got to keep up that most podcast.
Yeah.
If you didn't appreciate the episode, just tell Jeff, fuck you.
Yeah, it's all his fault. Yeah.
Stop coughing, Jeff.
I'd be super curious what other games in this genre that people, they also play with their families. Like, we've got people that Paul plays spades all the fucking time.
Yeah.
He had like 500 games of spades last year.
I mean, he plays
on
an
his
app.
But I love Pinochle. I want to teach you guys Pinochle.
Yeah, definitely.
Like I said, I grew up playing contract rummy.
Yeah,
that we call dummy rummy.
My aunt played that all the time, and I sometimes played that with her and her friends. Yeah, that was a great one. There are so many others that are really good, and I'm curious what other people in our listening community, your listening community.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was like, you're a part of this too.
Do I have the crown right now for the most frequent guest
I don't know.
host?
You and Wes are neck and neck.
Yeah.
You're lucky you're first. See, that's the problem is Andrew in my phone book, and then Wes way at the bottom. You got that solid edge. Does MHGG count? Because then he's got 11 on you there.
Yeah, and 4 hours per episode.
Yeah, we've got the thread up, and there is one response.
Yes.
Well, let me hit refresh.
No, I already checked on it.
Okay.
Good. Yeah.
There is one response, so we'll let Zach get that response. But then, I agree with Andrew. I would like to hear more about what you as listeners, what kind of games you play that involve base playing decks, variations of rummies or gins or trick-taking or matching cribbage.
According to Wikipedia, cribbage is a matching game, but the only other game in that category really is Naughty, which is basically dead.
Failed to exist.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway.
cribbage is an evolution of Naughty.
Yeah. Sure.
So anyway, the one answer here from BGG.
It's from Mike Jones. I'm curious to know your thoughts on the recent Shut Up and Sit Down's reoccurring feature, card games that don't suck. They've looked at Oh Hell, Fight the Landlord, and Ricochet Poker. Also, how cool is it that every time you shuffle a deck of cards, it's likely that particular order has never been achieved in the history of mankind?
Unless it's a new
Humankind.
deck of card.
Yeah, yes. Answer, very cool. All right, well, I'm glad he answered that for us, so we don't have to answer it.
I mean, I have to agree with him. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like you said, as long as it's not a new deck of cards,
right?
Then yes.
And even a new deck, there's a lot of variation you can get in one shuffle.
Yeah, but given that so many people start, the new deck is the starting position for a significant portion of the
every
shuffles.
shuffle. Every deck. Yeah, the first shuffle of a deck has always been in the same order in terms of the first. Yeah.
So it takes 7 shuffles.
How standard is a starting deck?
Very
order?
Standard. It goes Ace through King of Hearts, Ace through King of Clubs, King through Ace of Diamonds, King through Ace of Spades. Kissing Kings in the middle.
Yeah.
I could be mistaken about the order of the suits. I think I'm right.
But it's the same.
And that's standard across
yes.
all card manufacturers.
They're if you buy, a commemorative deck of cards from a gift shop in Taiwan, no, I don't know. But if you buy a bicycle versus, whatever the next 5 most popular decks of cards, yes, they're all in that order.
Yeah. So you need, like you said, 7 shuffles in order to get
a truly random ordering of cards.
Mm-hmm. Unless you do that shuffle that after 5 is back in the same order.
If you, I did this as a child because I was curious and because I was a weird kid. If you do a quote unquote perfect shuffle of 1 to 1, 7 times starting with a new deck, it ends up back in the exact same order.
Right. Yeah.
So 7, not 5. Yeah.
The 7 shuffle assumes that it's imperfect. If you're doing perfect shuffling, it's actually worse. You need imperfect shuffling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then after that 7, and it's just a circle of shuffling that won't get you anywhere.
Do you actually get back? That seems unlikely, but okay.
I mean,
no, I know that there's this.
I'm not going to say that my teenage self, because I assume I was.
It may not be.
It
may not be 7, but I know that there is a way to shuffle it perfectly that it goes back.
If your shuffles are exactly, you cut exactly 26 into each pile, and then exactly 1 to 1.
Yeah.
After a certain amount of time,
and always do the same half of the deck being on the bottom.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it doesn't happen naturally. It doesn't happen naturally, but. But because I was a weird kid at one point, I was like, well, could this happen? And,
okay. I mean, I'm sure there are people that have learned well enough to be able to do that.
Magicians. Yeah,
exactly. But just a random person, yes.
Yeah.
But the first part of that about shut up and sit down things, I think it's cool that they are bringing, into light
I didn't know
newer
that.
games.
I
or
had
not
been
newer
paying
games,
attention to them in a while.
Card games. That, and I've heard of Oh Hell. I haven't heard of the other 2.
Same here.
And I watched one of them. It seemed interesting enough. But yeah, it's cool that they're doing that weekly feature, I believe. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely planning on checking that out. I had not heard about that before we started this.
Same. I was completely unaware until I saw his comment. And then I saw that right as we were starting this episode. I asked you about it and you're like, yeah, I'd seen one of them. So intend to check it out more.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll definitely sprinkle these episodes in. We're not going to do them very often.
Yeah.
They are a little bit, I know, removed from typical board game discussions, but, I'd love to do one that sometime, maybe do spades, hearts, and pinochle for a trick-taking one.
Yeah. Or bridge.
Do a trick-taking episode where all the games are actually trick-taking games. That would be a
Yes.
first for us.
Yeah. Never know. And then only because Zach mentioned it real briefly with like a magician knowing how to perfectly shuffle, the single best like card control trick I've ever seen is less a trick and more like a performance done by a guy, Sean Farquhar. I'm going to include it on the show notes. He does it to a Sting song called The Shape of My Heart. Like he plays the song and he does the cards and like shows them at different beats in the song. It is fucking amazing. I'm definitely going to watch it as soon as you two leave here. And then I'll include the link on the show notes because it is
card artistry is really crazy.
Have you seen his appearance on Fool Us?
I have. Yeah. He's real good.
Yeah.
I like Sean Farquhar a lot. Even though his name reminds me of Farquaad from Shrek.
Yeah.
Which was making fun of a executive at, I don't know, DreamWorks or Disney or
it
some
was
major
DreamWorks,
studio.
but yeah.
Okay. I couldn't remember. But that's the episode.
Yep.
So thanks everybody for listening. Hopefully you've enjoyed hearing us talk about the 3 oldish card games that get played the most in our game group that Jeff doesn't play, so we could just do without him because he's dying.
Yeah.
Always dying.
Stop dying, Jeff.
Yeah. If you want to get hold of us, you can send us emails.
Emails at milehighgameguys.com.
You can find us over on Twitter, where I tune under at MHGameGuys.
I am Zach_MHGG, and Jeff is Jeff_MHGG.
We have a BGG guild number 2731, where there's a thread up for this episode that Mike Jones had contributed to, and I agree with Andrew. I would really like to hear what other variants or games that you guys play that kind of fall in these different categories. To give us some ideas for maybe other games to look into for a future old card game episode or whatever we're going to call
we
these.
don't want to learn a new game, a new complex game this week. Let's learn an old complex game.
But yeah, so go contribute over there. We're also on Facebook and Instagram, both /MileHighGameGuys. And there is a link to our Slack channel in the show notes of every episode, which you can find on your podcast app, hopefully, if it's a good app, or you can find on our website, milehighgameguys.com. So plenty of ways to find all of that stuff. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. As always, I've been your host, Adrian.
I'm still Zach.
And I'm not Jeff.
Thanks for joining us, Andrew.
Yes, thank you.
Always a pleasure having you.
Yep.
Bye.
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 Punchboard Media, where we all
bring something
to the table.
pull up a chair
At punchboardmedia.com.